everybody doing today? Friends, family, and enemies, welcome back to another video. As always, I hope everybody's having a blessed day. If not, I will be praying that it gets better. Now, in today's video, we will be talking about the case for Yahweh. So sit back, relax, listen, comprehend, and learn to view the world with the love of God. Alright guys, so the case for Yahweh, the case of Yahweh, however you want to say it, however it should be said, maybe, whatever the case may be, I'm making this video to finally make things clear. When I first started off on this channel, my first two, I think 3 videos maybe, I was saying Yahweh is Satan, right? But I don't go that far anymore. Like some of the videos that I have made, I still say that, right? And I'm gonna clear that up in this video, hopefully. It's not that I believe Yahweh is Satan, but when I say Yahweh is Satan, it's a lot easier to see the differences between the Father of Christ and Yahweh. And there I go again, right? Saying that there's a difference. But it's not so much that there's a difference in as much that there's a misunderstanding when you read the Old Testament. Because I'm gonna be quite honest, when I first started making these videos, that's what I truly believed. It wasn't until I started to understand where God started telling me, now you can see who I really am. Now you can understand who I really am. And the reason I believed this was because before I found out who God was, before I knew He was love, I was a hardcore Biblican, right? I was strict. God's gonna punish you. You can't do this, you can't do that. God hates this, God hates you, God hates me, God hates seeing what you're doing, God blah blah this, blah blah that. It was a bunch of fear-based notions of God. And so when He showed me it in this form or this style that Yahweh is not the Father of Christ, He showed it to me that way so I can lean towards love only. And then whenever I understand who He is, then I was able to understand the true misunderstandings in the Old Testament. And that really has to do with understanding that in the Old Testament, there were really no mentionings of Satan or the devil. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't there at all, I'm just saying it was very small. They didn't distinguish God and Satan really. My favorite book in which they did do this is the book of Job, and that's a lot of people's favorite book. But that's really how it works. In the Old Testament, they gave the attributes which belong to Satan to God as well. And that's why Christ came. Well, He was like, look, these attributes that y'all are giving to my Father, they don't belong to Him. These attributes of Satan belong to Satan. Stop giving my Father a bad name. Stop giving Him a bad reputation. Stop saying He did this and did that when it was Satan who did it. Now, that being said, in this video I'll try and explain it a little bit. And to make things clear, I just want to say that I did use a lot of material that one of my favorite YouTubers mentioned in his video. And so, if it seems like plagiarism to you, if you watch this, I'm sorry. You just really helped me to understand, explain it in a better way. You made some good points that I would like to use in this video. I'm probably already being a little misunderstanding, but by the end of this video, I'm sure you'll see where I stand. When I say that the Bible's been corrupted, this is what I mean. It's like we didn't give Satan what rightfully belonged to him, and we didn't give God what rightfully belonged to Him. And that's just one aspect. Of course, there's more, and maybe we can get to them in this video. It's just easier to understand that God's not the punisher. It's Satan. And I've said that in a lot of my videos. And I've also mentioned that it's not that I believe Yahweh is evil. It's not that I believe that there's no punishment whatsoever. It's just I have a deeper understanding, and now it's time to talk about it. First thing that I do want to say is that Satan cannot act unless God says so, unless God gives him the go-ahead. And like I said, the book of Job is the best example of this. Remember, in the book of Job, God calls a heavenly session, right? All the angels are there, and Satan himself is there. Satan I consider as an angel of God. He works to accomplish what we would call the providential will of God, right? And that's how it all works. I've mentioned in my videos before that it's this spiritual, or like that in this spiritual realm, they've come to this agreement, some sort of agreement, and this is what it is. God has agreed to allow his creatures to do what they want to do. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. In this book, in this assembly, God tells Satan, have you considered my servant Job, right? Because he is righteous and upright, God-fearing. He walks in my ways. And Satan's like, yeah, whatever. None of that matters. You know why he's like that? It's because you give him everything he wants. You spoil him. You treat him like a little baby who can't think or fend for himself. How about you take away what you have given him, and you see he will curse you to your face. And then God's like, that's what you believe, bro? Like, I know people's hearts. That's what I test. I give him that because I know his heart. But if that's what you want, then I give you the power to do what you want. Basically destroy everything around him. And that's what happens. Satan goes and he basically slaughters his children and all of his farm animals and whatever else he owns. And then when Job sees all this, he basically falls down and he makes his little prayer that naked he came from his mother's womb, naked he will leave, right? And he also mentions, for the Lord has given, and so the Lord has taken away. Well, hold up. So from our point of view, which is the entire Old Testament, it's God who gives and takes away, who blesses and curses, because we have no knowledge or understanding of the spiritual realm, and it's still like that. We blame God for losing family members, for losing someone we love. We blame God for all the evil and wicked in the world when it rightfully belongs to Satan. And that's why I went as far to say that Yahweh is Satan and continue to say so, even though I knew that was not the case. Because whether you like it or not, we are still doing it today. We blame God for everything that belongs to Satan. But anyway, he said it right there. God gave to him and God has taken away, when we clearly know that it wasn't God who took it away, it was Satan. Satan took it away, and note that it was only because God allowed him to do so. And like I said, we always blame God, but we need to know that God is not in any way responsible for any sorts of evil in this world. But he does allow it because he respects the free will of his creation, of all of his creatures. And yet, somehow, some way, the truth of the matter is, he finds a way to derive good from this evil. We just gotta look for it. Your Bible says this, that all things work for the good of those who love God, right? And this is exactly what it's talking about. You may think that God is taking away your life, when in all actuality, he's allowing Satan to do so. Where the presence of God is not, where the presence of God retreats, that is where Satan comes in and wreaks his havoc, causes chaos. The presence of God retreated from Job, and Satan came in and wreaked havoc. So you're blaming and cursing God when in all actuality it's Satan. And so coming off of this saying that things work for the good of God, especially for those who love God, like just coming off of that, we can just look at the story of Joseph, right? And if you're not familiar with this, just know that Joseph has this dream. And in this dream, it's clear that everybody is bowing down to him. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about his brothers and his family. They're bowing down to him. He's considered their king, and his brothers get mad at this. So they go and they throw him into a well, but he doesn't die. Actually, these Egyptian, slave traders, they come and they get him and they take him to Egypt. And I believe because of this power of being able to interpret dreams, he becomes the Pharaoh's right-hand man. He becomes a royal leader in the Egyptian community. And then a famine comes, and because of this famine, nobody has food, including his brothers and his family. And because of it, everybody's coming to Egypt, including his brothers and his family. And he's able to save them all. And that's what he says. For you had evil intentions against me, but God had a better plan. God's intentions were good. The good intentions he had were for me to come first and to basically help my people from this famine that is in the land. So it's clear right there that what they meant for evil intentions actually worked out for good. And that's a good example of this. That in God's unfailing love and respect to our free will, he allows us to act blindly from our own cold, selfish hearts, right? And out of our own cold hearts, we do whatever we deem pleasurable, as we saw with the brothers of Joseph. But because of his infinite foreknowledge, his providential free will. And if you don't know the definition for providential, I'll give you two definitions. The first definition is occurring at a favorable time, and the second definition is involving divine foresight or intervention. I like to think of the second definition for this, but that's basically what it is. In his infinite foreknowledge or his providential will, he arranges, right, all the actions that we choose to do to work in favor of his unfailing love and to bring out the good, whether you see it or not. Somewhere there's good. It's not that God predestines our own destiny and our decisions beforehand, right, in order to carry out his plans. It's that all choices are immediately brought to his presence, to his awareness. Because if you don't know, God is outside of time and space, which then means all moments in time are present to God, right? And so with that being said, I'm saying that he uses our own choices, right? Our own free will. He's going off of that to navigate and accomplish his plans. You get what I'm saying? Do you get the full-blown picture of that? How mind-blowing that is? Out of your own free will, you may think you're going against God, and yet he finds a way to bring out good from your evil actions. Satan himself, he does this. So when you can first see that Yahweh is Satan, then you can start to see which aspects of Yahweh are actually Satan's and which aspects of Yahweh are actually the Father. You get what I'm saying now? And like I said, this is why Jesus came, and another reason Jesus came was to free you, was to free us. What did he free us from? A lot of people don't like this, but he freed us from the law. I will always believe in that. It's not that the law is bad. The law was good. It's just that none of us could fulfill it, right? And that's what Jesus came to do for us. And why does that matter? Well, it matters, as you can clearly see from the book of Exodus, chapter 4, verse 24. On the way, at a place where they spent the night, the Lord met him and tried to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched Moses' feet with it and said, "Truly, you are a bridegroom of blood to me." So he let him alone. It was then, she said, a bridegroom of blood by circumcision. Well, that should be clear enough for you to see that, or why Jesus had to save us from the law. Because it wasn't God trying to kill Moses, as you read. In fact, it was Satan trying to kill Moses. And if you don't know this, this was literally one of the first laws that were given to them. And it came to Abraham. We'll just put it up on the screen real quick. And the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of the foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. If it's not clear to see, that's how Satan works. This was one of the first laws, and Moses broke it. And so Satan saw his opportunity, saw his chance, saw a legal right that he was then able to go and kill God. And we know that this ain't God trying to kill him, because not too long ago, maybe a passage or two ago, he had just seen God. He had just spoke to God. And then all of a sudden God wants to kill him. So you're saying God forgot that he needed to kill Moses? It was actually Satan, and there's no distinction. And this is the distinction. Satan saw that he had his opportunity, and yet it was still taken away. And that's key to remember. The law is key for everything. You can literally think of Satan in these legal terms. You can think of all of God and angels and everything in these legal terms, like court terms or whatever. Because I believe that Satan can also be translated the accuser, the adversary, and stuff like that. You can think of him as the prosecutor, always trying to prove why somebody is guilty, maybe. And see, this video is already pretty long. I'm gonna make a part 1 and a part 2. So this will be the first part, just understanding a little bit. I know it may be hard to follow, right? But the main point, the main gist of things, like I have been saying, is that there are two voices in the Old Testament, and we need to distinguish the two. And that's why I'm helping you right now. I'm no longer saying that Yahweh is evil, because I don't really believe that. That was just to maybe catch your eye, maybe to catch your attention. And now we're just going to get a different understanding, more accurate understanding, I believe. But just know, God is light and there's no darkness in him. So don't give any attributes that should belong to Satan to God. That's all it comes down to. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. I love you guys. I pray that you prosper. I pray that you grow. And I pray that you receive all that you desire. Now, go and use what you've learned and apply it with the love of God.